This is Ari Koretsky, and welcome to Jews You Should Know, introducing the broader community to interesting and inspiring Jewish men and women making a difference in our world. Some are already famous, some not yet so, but each is a Jew you should know. We are back, having completed the holiday season 2018 5779, and very excited to launch our next mini-series out of the Israel podcast tour. This mini-series will focus on bridge builders in the Jewish world and specifically in the Israeli world. As many are familiar, unfortunately, Israel, for all of its wonderful qualities and merits, contains within it real chasms between various parts of the community, in particular the religious or ultra-Orthodox and what's called secular, various appellations given to these different subsectors, some of which are descriptive and helpful, others of which perhaps less so. But this week we're going to begin by featuring an amazing young man, Rabbi Menachem Bombach, who reached virtual fame after he hosted a Israel Memorial Day ceremony at his Hasidic high school that he runs in Israel. And the video of that ceremony went viral within the Jewish world, and he has been speaking at venues all across the globe, advising and promoting his unique brand of Jewish activism, trying to promote an integrated and functional model of Jewish and academic development within what's known as the Chareidi sector, a rapidly growing segment of the Israeli population. And it was an honor to speak with Rabbi Bombach at the Mandel Institute in Jerusalem. Rabbi Menachem Bombach. We are here with Menachem Bombach, I hope I pronounced it correctly, in the Mandel Institute for Leadership. I hope I pronounced that correctly as well. We're going to learn all about it. I have no idea, to be honest, actually where I'm sitting. We're going to learn about that very shortly. I do have an idea about with whom I am speaking, because Menachem Bombach is a person who recently, for those following online, has become sort of a media sensation for his incredible work, pioneering educational techniques within the ultra-Orthodox or Chareidi population in Israel. And we're going to hear all about that today. How are you, Menachem?
Thank you so much. Nice to having you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for welcoming me to this place, which again, you'll tell me shortly a little bit about. But first, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Clearly, you are Israeli, from native Israeli, at least it sounds like. Where are you from, and what is your background?
So, I was invited to a roundtable in the Knesset that deals about the relationship between Israel and the diaspora.
Yes.
And the member of Knesset, Michael Oren.
Well, Michael Jordan was definitely a better basketball player than Michael Oren.
Michael Oren. To ask me, Bombach, what's your connection to this table? So I told him, listen, I immigrated to Israel at the age of 20. So he asked me from where, and I said from Mea So he said, so now do you have the permission to deal with? And I really love Israel. I think I have a deep love for Israel. So I really, once when I meet a Jewish people all over the world, I feel so close to him. So I really like to deal with these issues about the relationship between Israel and diaspora. So I grew up in Mea Shearim, and I used to mention the fact that I didn't speak a word of Hebrew until the age of 20. Wow. Because the idea of, Mea Shearim is to be isolated.
So it's Yiddish only?
Only Yiddish, yeah. And I have to say that I have very, very good memories. I remember so special people with so deep values. And my grandmother, grandfather, they lived in Bate Ungarin. It's not far away yet.
Sure.
It was a part of my life. And at the same time, I was, when you live in such background, we come from such background, you always remember good things, but you also remember the edges, the extremists, the people who are present, they really, something that's not present the mainstream.
Yeah.
So this is a part of the place that I grew up, and I remember always when, I can just tell you, there is a very famous street next to Mea Shearim. The name of the street is Shiftei Israel.
Sure.
When I was 6 years old, in Shabbat, this was a street that a lot of cars was drive in this place, and always there is some kids who comes out and throw stones on the
Terrible, yeah.
And I remember how the police came in the neighborhood, and it was like fear, fear. And when I was 7 years old, and I asked my mother, who is those police? Who is those guys? I didn't know. And she said something, I'm not going to say exactly the same name, but, and I asked her, so Jews are fighting with Jews? When I was 7 years old. So when sometimes I'm telling this story because people are wondering what happens with you, what changed you, and why, what's the story about your, and the reason is I feel I have a Jewish soul and an neshama that loves people, and I can't hate. I don't have the cheap who hates people. So unfortunately, maybe.
So you grew up in this very isolated community, Menachem, very religious neighborhood in Jerusalem. And was your family from this area for many generations? Were they Jerusalemites, Yerushalmi, or did they immigrate from Europe? What was their background?
Yeah. They come from Hungary, Hungary, and from Romania. So they come from
Before
Europe.
the war,
after the war.
After the war.
Yeah.
So they were survivors, or?
Yeah, they were survivors. Unfortunately, my grandfather, he lost his whole family, his brothers and sisters, his parents. And I'm the third generation of the Holocaust, so I have very, very strong memories about the Holocaust. And just for recently, I had very good, strong experience about. But maybe we're gonna leave it at the last.
Okay,
we're gonna end with this story.
Wonderful. Okay, you have to remember it.
Yeah.
To come back to it. So, when you were growing up, just so people understand, can you describe a little bit what your education was like in that community?
Yeah, there is a very famous Talmud Torah elementary school that the name of Dushinsky.
Dushinsky, sure.
Yeah, Dushinsky.
On Shmuel Hanavi?
It's Shmuel Hanavi, but they have also Zupnik building in the center of next to Menachem.
They're very loud, yelling prayers, right?
No, this is the Karolina guy.
That's the same building as Dushinsky?
No. But this is people who represent the extremism in the Jewish community, and we are always remember those songs in the Afsakot. I mean, in the when we finished studying, we sung songs against Zionism.
Right.
And it was a part of the ethos.
Yes.
And but at the same time, I'm not sure if the teachers was really, I'm not sure if they knew the job as well as a teacher, but they give the art. And I always remember they really wanted we should continue the next generation with Jewish values. It was very strong, and I really appreciate those years. Even right now, I would never suggest someone to raise his kids in such places right now, because it really presents something that separates Jews from Jews, and this is not my journey today.
Yeah. So, but it sounds like there was no Hebrew education and no secular studies, or was there a little bit of secular in the younger grades?
No.
Math?
No, there is plus and minus. Yeah, that's
basic
all.
Math.
The basic math.
Very basic math.
Yeah. They give us. I figure out something very, very sad. That the teachers teach us not the right Hebrew, a wrong Hebrew.
On purpose, or?
Oh, I got sad when I realized that it's on purpose.
Yeah.
They didn't want to should have connection with outside the world, so that's why they give us not the right language. So Rabim, Yachid, all those kinds
singular,
of things.
Plural, different conjugations.
Yeah, it was, and this is, I think, very a sad story, because ignorance is one of the worst thing ever you can experience. It's like you're disabled.
Yeah.
And once you figure out that you're disabled, this is very, very sad. I think it's the real poorness. It's not about money. To be poor, I mean, it's to be ignorance with no any knowledge, and this is very, very sad. So that's why they just dedicate 2 hours a week for
2 hours a week.
Yeah, 2 2 hours or 3 hours a week. It is the best maximum. And also, we didn't took it seriously too much.
Right, it was kind of like a
fun.
joke or
a joke. Yeah. I see you know all the stories.
I have a sense of things a little bit. So you obviously were living in this environment, and something changed at some point. What happened for you? I assume you were in studying and like everyone else, and at some point, you said when you were 7 years old, you had kind of a moment where you were disillusioned by the fighting between Jews, by the tension with the police and who were Jewish police officers. But of course, you couldn't do anything at that point in time. So what happened a little bit later? When did you start, and how did you start to shift your attitude?
Yeah, I can tell you just one little story that my grandmother, she said once to my mother, keep careful on Menachem because he's a little shagets. How do you speak?
Wow, like a little...
Yeah, she loves me very much, but she said I think I really grew up maybe in a different place, but my soul is really, I can say in some ways, liberal soul, a pluralism soul. So it was not so dramatic, the change. Once I become exposed to other people, I was fascinated. Oh, it's great people. It's different than I thought before. But a change moment was when I get a suggestion to be a counselor in a dormitory for Russian immigrants in Migdal Emek.
Migdal Emek up north with Rav Grossman.
I don't know still now why they took me as a counselor.
How did they hear about you?
I think it was a very big mistake because in the age of, I really love education. The age of 12, when I was 12 years old, I had my first startup. We had the Shabbat afternoon. The parents wants to sleep, so we gather many kids, and they praise Tehillim.
Right, they would say psalms. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had even a donor who gave us the ice cream, and I was very.
So you made a whole kids group.
Yeah.
So the kids could sleep. So
the parents can sleep. So I really love education. I believe in education, and my art is in education. So it was very naturally to me to go to education. So a friend says he's looking for a counselor. So one of the kids came to me and asked me a question about math in English. And I didn't know how the letters looked like. So I understood that my situation is very bad.
This is at 12?
No.
Oh, in the dormitory.
Yeah.
When you were with the Russian kids. Up north, yeah.
So I took myself, and also I understand if I want to work with kids, I need to have a basic knowledge. It's impossible even in education. So I went to a very interesting school. I'm not sure, it's a government school about education, dorm education, and they didn't want to take me to this place because I didn't have a degree. So I told them, listen, that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to do much more worth. So please give me the ability or the chance to study in your school. They asked me to complete the 10 books in psychology. I didn't know most of the words, but I worked very hard, and I finished very well. And then I made a first degree in education, and my second degree I have from Hebrew University in public policy. And this is a journey, a journey on your life. You meet people, you see people. I met people, secular people that, if there is a Gan Eden, I want to sit next to them. Believe me. People I would never could imagine, how they love people, how they looking for honesty, their integrity for justice. So beautiful people. So they just grew up in a different place, in a different background. This is not why we need to hate each other or whatever, etc. So the story is continuing that I had the privilege to open the pre-academic program at Hebrew University for Chareidi, because I said if a Chareidi right now wants to go to Hebrew University, he has no choice. Why? Because he has not the basic knowledge, the matriculation. So we come up with the idea. It was not easy. People said it's not going to work. People is not going to come. and you're gonna stay. You're gonna have a lot of people who demonstrate against you. But I said, if I think this is the right thing they should be very Chareidim. Don't change your identity, but at the same time, you have to be a lawyer. We need to be a part of Israel. So that's why if there is no doctors, no engineers, no lawyers in the Chareidi community, so how they can become, you have to be a part of Israel. You have to contribute what you can. And you know the fact that most of the students in the yeshivot can't sitting all day studying Torah. It doesn't work. And the fact is that in 2028, 40% of all our first graders in Israel will be members of the Chareidi community.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. And we are doubling ourselves every 30 years. It's 1 million people right now in Israel. And even there is 52% of the of men in the Chareidi society who are working, but the income is very, very
The jobs
low.
are often menial jobs.
Yeah.
It might have a little store or something, a blue-collar work. But not
Blue-collar
necessarily-
work, exactly.
But
So
not
this is
professional.
not what the GDP right now, it's about $45,000. In 2002, I think it was 15. It's unbelievable. And if we are not generate something like this, or when we become a part of the workforce, so it's going down, because the tax comes from people. Yeah, it doesn't come it's not from America.
Right.
So that's why we felt that the obligation that more and more Chareidim should have the ability to go to the Hebrew University, and it's very, very great idea, but unfortunately, there is a sad point in the story that 50% dropped out.
Wow.
50% are very succeed, and now if you are going to Hebrew University, you can meet every 2 or 3 or 5 minutes a Chareidi.
Really?
And this is apart because of these actions. There is also another very, very interesting initiative that brings Chareidim for the second degree in Hebrew University in different kinds of faculties. But when I asked those young guys, why you can't complete this program, and they said, I'm just married, I have no enough time, and this program is just one a year, and I need to study into new languages. Math is a language, English is a language, and to study 2 languages in very high level, it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's very complicated. So that's why they droop out. So I have to say that it was a point that we understood that we need to make another step, and just to provide education, very special and a good education inside the community, and to start in early ages. So we come up with the idea 4 years ago. Right now we influence about 400 kids in our community, and we have a slope. We have
A mountain.
slope to go up, but we see we're going to reach in 5 years more than 1,000 kids.
Yeah.
We have many projects. It's not public, so I'm not standing in the front of all of them not to damage it, because in my school, in the Midrasha Hasidei Torah Academy, that is very, very famous, everybody speaks about, because this is an unusual project. It's the mainstream Hasidic since the Baal Shem Tov. I don't think that such a school was exist before, and this is a school that you can study Hasidut, you study Torah, but you study also full matriculation and technology. So he's going to be ready to the 21st century. He knows the new language. He knows how to deal with. It's also about life skills. We're working very, very much about life skills. Finances, also soft skills about
Social
listening,
skills.
empathy, all those things. It's very, very important, because, the idea of just to dedicate your life for studying Torah, it's a great idea, but most of the people can't do it. So who can sitting and studying Torah all day long? Maybe you can, you don't need to focus or to deal with so many issues or to study, because Torah, I still believe it's the most important thing ever. I really believe and I admire people who are studying Torah all day long. But this is just, it's that. If it's a pyramid. If it's a pyramid, it's just the top, 5, 6, 7%. So this is a new mission, and it's not easy. Sometimes people are, don't like us too much. But I think the truth and the honesty of this kind of action is more stronger than anything else. And we believe, like, in the coming years, we're going to see a huge change. That's what we hope, because, I'm speaking with rabbis inside the community, and when I speak with them, with 4 eyes, we understand each other very, very well. And they also know they have any solutions in their community for those kinds of things. They see so many people are dropping out. 10% officials are dropping out for the community. Someone told me in America, off the derech. I ask him from which derech. I no. Sometimes, you have to ask the derech, which derech. So, because I'm telling this because I met a rabbi. It was an anti-Zionist. He's an anti-Zionist rabbi. He lives in the next to Bnei Brak. And he once told me, I want, Menachem, that all Chareidim should go to the army. And I said, no.
The army of Hashem.
No. I said, so I asked him okay, what's the catch? And he said, why we are so fearful going to the army? Because we are fear that the day after they're going to take out the kippah.
Right.
Take away.
Lose the religious identity.
So I'm asking you, he asked me, Menachem, how could be a guy who's studying 20 years in education system, and one day he can lose it? So I don't want they should go to the army, but I want we should know the truth. So this is a real conversation that I had with one of the rabbis. Even now, because of the viral movie, if you saw the viral movie about the Memorial Day, someone just told them, listen, if you support Rabbi Bombach, you're in trouble. So it gives us a public announcement against us, unfortunately. Yeah. But the rabbis knows there is no solutions inside the community, and boring is the whole thing. Our sages said that boring makes you make sins.
Right, boredom.
If you're bored.
Yeah. Huh? So I want to understand, Menachem, you were like 20 years old, and you were a dorm counselor for the Russian kids. You went to a school, got some education for yourself. How did you get from there to opening up a program and then another program?
Oh, yeah.
It's very was it 1 year, 2 years, 10 years? How did you do this? And it's a tremendous, uphill road that you had to take.
Yeah, it sounds. I'm 41 years old, so it's a journey from 20 years. It's not so. It's a lot of time, but I was blessed with. As I said, I believe in education, but I believe in leading education systems. Leadership in education is one of the most interesting thing, I think, in those days, I think since ever. But once when I worked with Russian kids, and I felt we had very good success, and it was very good results in education, I had another suggestion to take a school for Russian immigrants, high school. I was very young, I was 25.
Wow.
Yeah, but I took a school that was really destroyed. No budget, terrible education system, violence and riots, everything. It was like...
Where was it?
In Beitar Illit. And also it was 5 managers. It was like a terrible, terrible place. And I was blessed that Baruch Hashem, with step by step, I took it. I renew it from new. In 2011, we got the Education Prize Ministry for this project. Yeah, this was a very great moment because we succeed in so many areas and criteria about climate and about study results and about everything. It was like a great
transformation.
Absolutely. And this is what, because I always working in education, was my journey, in education. I also always try to help people to build their education system, involved in many activities, and also at the same time we are now in Mandel Institute. We're just sitting here, I'm working also in Mandel. I had the privilege to manage the leadership program for the Chareidi community here in this place. This is a very famous institute. Everybody speaks about that. It has many projects and programs for army people and for the IDF and also for youth movements, everything. So we have there is a very famous woman in Israel. His name is Nomi Pearl. She based this project in the institute. She's not here today, but she's a brilliant woman, a very great leader and a visionary woman. So I had the privilege to manage this project. So everyone who comes here, he has some previous experience. He has some influences in their community. So they coming here and they get much more from this knowledge, identity, philosophy issue, tough issues. So, every identity is based on 3 components: knowledge, identification, and practice. So, there's not, if I'm going back to the story from the rabbi about identity, I can say that there is not enough knowledge. So that's why there's not enough identity, okay? And that's why the practice is as we practice. So it's like some of us it's a fake practice. It's not the right practice. That's what if you understand what I mean. Mm-hmm. So this is all of my years. I've worked in education and management and leadership. So once when I realized there is no any choice for so many people in the community, inside the community, we decided to jump in and to make this happen. It was also impossible, but I believe that I don't know how you translate Siyata Deshmaya.
Divine providence.
Yeah, but this is what I feel. I feel God is with us, and I feel we are Mekachei Shem Shamayim.
Yeah, sanctifying God's name in the world. As you've gone through this journey yourself, how has your own religious identity been impacted? Was it something that one could grow up in a community and become, as we said earlier, disillusioned, and many times that could really turn somebody off and change a person's whole relationship to Judaism. Has that been something that you've had to grapple with, struggle with for yourself in terms of creating or renewing your own Jewish identity? How have you done with that?
I'm still struggling each day. I think this is the real Jewish. If once you're satisfied with yourself, you stop doing your journey. And each day I'm asking myself questions. I know, what's my vision in this school? My vision is God fear, loving Torah, and to be a people who are involved in the community.
Right.
In Hebrew, it's like Yireh Hashem, Ohev Torah, V'ish Maaseh. And I must demand the same to myself. I'm always saying to the students, what does it mean God fear? We have a letter to evaluate those things. No, but how many times in a day you are thinking about God? This is my measure. And this is there is a very famous phrase, "B'chol drachecha de'eu."
Right, you should know Him in all His ways.
Yeah,
know God in all His ways.
I really believe in Mekachei Shem Shamayim. People who understand we are in a time, and so this is one of my motivations. So, there is 2 sources of motivation: pain and pleasure. And maybe when you start doing something like this, it comes from pain because you felt you spend the nicest years, just you spend it not in the right way, and you feel your place where you grew up is not the exact place that it's the right place to serve God. So now I'm in a moment of pleasure because we feel so many people who are growing now in our new communities and acting different and thinking different and behave different and respect different, and they have a new meaning in Ahavat Israel to love Jewishness. So I feel we can make a huge change, and this is my pleasure time.
But it's interesting because you yourself chose to stay within the community, right? You could have very easily become something different, either lost your whole faith or even left the very religious world and gone to a different part of the community.
Yeah, so I have to say something about that I think there is so many beautiful things in our Chareidi ultra-Orthodox community. And there is so many things. There is 50% who are dropping out from the national Zionist community.
Yeah. And
still we are far from those numbers because I think there is very, very, very strong values and we love it very much. The fact is maybe it's a new world because, there is, I would say something like this. I love my community. I'm very proud that I'm a Chareidi. And I'm proud of Chareidi not to also, I feel I have the permission and the privilege to criticize myself and my community.
Sure.
But to make it not to criticize, to stay against, just with love. And all those people who are coming here also, we are working with love. If you hate or you don't like, you just criticize because you want to criticize, this is not a place you can influence. And we want to make it better. And I want to say something else. Listen, this is a new world. When people ask me, when you say ultra-Orthodox, what do you mean? There is maybe 4 characteristics. The obligation to Jewish law. Everybody, you can Sephardi or Ashkenazi, doesn't matter who. If you are really obligated to the Jewish law, so you are part of this tradition, this community. Second is the ambivalence toward Zionism and modernism. So Zionism, most of the Charedim are not against Zionism. They're just not Zionism. They are indifferent. And also about modernity. The Chareidi community is a modern phenomenon. People don't understand.
Right, sure.
It's very, very modern phenomenon. For 200 years,
right.
It didn't exist even. So it's a way how you can protect yourself from outside influences the world. But today, you can sit in Mea Shearim with very high walls.
Right.
And we have access to Japan.
In your pocket.
And you have access always, you can. And this is what happened, because this is stronger than anything else. Maybe so many rabbis are fighting against technology, but this is, in America it was a very big event. If technology, 60,000 people came together, and most of the people record this event with their cell phones. It's amazing, This is about technology. It's a new way. So we cannot use old practice in a new world. So, and I'm saying it's a catch-22. The idea is to be isolated, to not be exposed to outside influences, and the outside, the Western world should not influence us inside the neighborhood. But, and this is maybe a good idea from many years ago, but now there is no way. Everyone has almost access to everything. And now if you not provide for the young generation tools, so you're going to lose them. They're going to drop out. So that's my language that I try to convince also so many rabbis around them.
Right, and beautiful. So tell me a little bit about the school that you've now created. You said there was this viral video, which is true. I saw a beautiful video on Israeli Memorial Day. And tell me a little bit about the actual school that you've created. And is it meant to be sort of a model, a prototype for other schools to open up? What's the goal with it, and what are sort of the key ingredients of this place?
Oh, this is a place that also this year we're going to get the Education Minister Prize.
Wow.
We are very proud about the results because 90% finished with matriculation, and all of them are going to very good yeshivot after
Really?
that. Yeah. And this is because I show the community that we are staying in the community. We're not done losing. So this, I'm not an agent of change, I'm agent to preserve. Because we preserve the young generation in the community with new tools, okay? What is very interesting in the community, it's not about myself, it's about my staff. I have the best staff ever, and I'm very proud with. I feel very humble when I see them. אני עפר לרגליהם.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. They are better than me. I'm Eritreans. They're really, really sage. תלמידי חכמים, and people who...
Where did you find people who aligned with your vision?
It was a journey, and it's still a journey. It's not easy. It's just, for example, when we celebrate. It was a ceremony from the Memorial Day. One of our staff said, Menachem, okay, English, it's very good. Math is very good. History is good. But why to make a ceremony for the Memorial Day? This is not Chareidi. And I said, we are Jewish. Jewish as a value of gratitude. So I can't raise a new generation without gratitude. If you're not a part, it's okay, it's not okay, it's controversial. But just to ignore, just to go away from this facts and the people who are sacrificed the body and the soul for you, this is not a place that I want. And he said, okay, I have to go. And I told him, I appreciate because you're obligated to your values, I'm obligated to my values. Okay, and it's okay, I respect you. But this is one of those new languages, how we can respect each other, not to hate. And I speak about the staff, and there's a dormitory, so we have so many informal activities, and they meet so many kinds of people, not just from inside the community. They're listening to so many voices, so it's enlarged their tolerance. They become so different in many terms of Chareidim. So, and they're not changing. Listen, they know how to live in a complexity world.
Right.
I was very influenced from Rabbi Aaron Lichtenstein, Zchrono Livracha.
Sure.
Yeah, I also met him privately. Yeah, and I've learned from him so many things. But one of the major things that don't try to resolve the problems, just live with, because this is the brilliant. This is the diamond of Judaism, and this is what I teach my kids. It's complexity. You cannot resolve. There are so many questions, and we are just always saying in Hebrew, "V'sein chelkenu betoratecha." Give us a part in your Torah. Okay, just give us a part. Why a part? Because the truth is only in God.
Right.
Yeah. For you people, we just need a part of it because everybody lives in a part. Everybody holds a part. So that's why we are just asking our part, and none of us are holding the whole part. Okay, all parts.
Is the school taught in Yiddish?
No, there is so many conversation between the kids, but we are
the main
studying
language
Hebrew.
is Hebrew.
In Hebrew, yeah, for sure, because they start this is in Hebrew, and this is the national language.
How are you getting kids to come to the school?
It's really interesting because there is two kinds of population. There's some parents that they want to stop the circle of poverty, so they have enough courage to take a step away. And with some people, also parents, they have the responsibility to make sure the kids will have a good education system. Because we are very, very specialized. We are working very special. If you have any time, you can surf to our site in Hebrew. It's an amazing site. There is more 500 people each month so are going to this site, and it's just information site. It's not the news. You can learn so much about matriculation, about points of education, thoughts, life skills, and the staff and ideas and so many materials. Very rich site, and I'm very proud about this because it's also a way how we can widen our influences in the community.
Yeah.
And I have to say, the reason was just for 2 weeks ago, a simple rabbi from one of the yeshivot. He came to me secretly, and he told me, "I heard you are very professional. I want to take from you some ideas, but please don't say for no one that we met."
Wow.
So this is a way how we can influence, and I respect it. It's okay, but this is, I believe in the coming years we're going to see a huge change. And as you ask me, it's a prototype, maybe. When there is unwilling situation, there's three ways how to respond: doing nothing, or complain, or trying to change in your autonomy. And that's what we're trying to do. I'm not, I'm not the guy that I'm going to change. I'm very simple and little guy that really wants to make better our community. So this is a part of those actions, and I know we are very dynamic. We are very dynamic sector in Israel. Things could change, but I believe that the truth of this mission will overcome everything.
The kids in the school are all Hasidic, or where?
90% of Hasidic, and there is some people come from a Litvish background, and now we're going to have another school in Jerusalem.
Geared towards them.
Yeah, it's more Litvish in Jerusalem. We have a network of schools. You should know it's not one school.
Okay.
We have a girls' school in Jerusalem.
Ah, okay.
We have now a Litvish school in Jerusalem, and now in Beit Shemesh we are working very hard for elementary school. We're helping for some, for very, very great people who are living there. And next year is going to be another school for Sfaradim in Beitar Illit. We have many influences. We know we're going to get 1,000 people. That's what I'm saying. It's not just a local change. People come to us and asking for advice, and also we have a network. Our network, the name of our network is Netzach.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have many schools. We're working very hard. That's why also I'm going to America 3 times a week to meet people who are generous and understand it, because this is the future about Israel. It's not about the army. This is the future. And no one, because I know in America people love us so much, I know they don't want to send their kids in Israel to see Israel destroyed. They wanted to see continue how we flourish, yeah, and how we continue our journey and to make it all a goyim.
Enlighten to the nations.
Enlighten to the nations.
Does the government support the schools financially?
Yeah. Most of the budget comes to the government, but still, there is a lot of money we need to raise. And also, we hope to open a village in the coming years.
A village?
A village, yeah. Education village. This is one of our dreams.
To do what?
A village, it would be very with science, technology, and read great yeshiva that the young generation are studying very, very in high quality in studies, and it's going to be like a place that people will see, wow, it's possible. It's possible to raise Charedim that will be integrated in Israel and respect themselves and respect the community.
Do you draw inspiration from America? Because in America, that's really, in many places, that's the model where there's more.
With each person I met, I'm inspired. I mean it serious. I'm a collector of inspiration, and I try to learn from it. I just come back last visit in America. I visit SAR.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful.
Open walls, right?
Yeah, Rabbi Krauss. It's such a beautiful. I speak with the staff. I had a very special conversation with the staff, and it's my second visit in the open space. And now you deal with 1,000 kids, elementary school, with very high prestigious education system. This is amazing. This is amazing. For sure, regard. We need to focus ourselves, but our needs, what we can do, because America is American, Israel is Israel,
Yeah.
And to close those gaps is not so easy, even financially. Most of the parents are supposed to pay 1,000 shekel a month, but 50% have no money to pay, and the rest of them ask me for a discount. So I used to say, yeah, for the cops, that's money. It's not money you can. That's why we need to raise a lot of money. Also, we are writing materials, so we have staff, very professional psychologists, and very, very special writing staff that we can spread in all other places.
Where do the kids go afterwards? You said yeshivot. How are you dealing with the whole question of the army? Because in Israel, that's kind of like a major issue and a major question, that even if you have a secular education, but if you're not going to go to the army, it kind of prevents certain educational opportunities afterwards, or entry to the workforce, and people look negatively upon it in the broader society. How do you deal with this issue?
Yeah, I have to say that in 2007, there were just 400 soldiers in the army from the Chareidi community. Now we have more than 4,000. So the numbers are growing, and now the mission is they should be in the workforce. So once we're going to send them in the army, no one's going to send their kids. It's like, so we have to know about that. So once they're going to be the workforce, it's going to be a very great contribution. And I also, if some people wants to go, they will go, okay? But the army, with some agreements and ways out to stay a little bit, continuing the yeshiva, and after maybe to make some steps. But there is some solutions about those things. And I think even a secular who lives in Od Sharon, you will see that the Chareidim have much to contribute for this country. A lot of tradition issues and whatever, but at the same time it's taking a part. It will reduce so much tensions.
So you don't think there's going to be continued resentment from the secular community? If these kids are getting education?
No, but I have to say, I may be the only actor in the Hasidic world, yeah, but even we are working with so many communities, but there is so many actors now. There is many schools, maybe most of them works with dropouts, but there is also mainstream schools, very good schools that combine secular studies and religious. And I had a privilege to study in Harvard Business School for a week.
And you did one of the seminars. One of the
seminars, yeah. It was amazing. So after when I was invited to Young Israel in Boston to speak for the people in Brookline. So I said, since I'm coming back from Harvard Business School, I'm not going to say any more secular studies. I'm going to say religious studies and general studies.
General studies.
Because it's not. I think it's a part of the holy studies.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm so curious, how have you been received within the community? You've referenced that rabbis will come secretly to you and ask you kind of under the table for advice. How are people receiving you? And not just rabbis, but your friends from growing up, your family, your siblings, your cousins. I'm sure you have a big network of people that in growing up 20 years in Mea Shearim. How are people receiving you and interacting with you?
Yeah, it's not easy. We are paying very high prices about those kinds of missions, and it's prices. It's not easy. But leadership is not just asking about yourself, about how people is going to respond. This is not leadership. In my eyes, leadership is to focus on your beliefs, and to taking people with you, not just to satisfy people.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, because in the beginning it sounds crazy and people don't understand you, and why you're doing good to business, make money, why you need so much troubles. So absolutely, for my siblings it's not easy. Some of my siblings don't want any connection with me.
Wow.
And
your children and everything.
Yeah, but at the same time there is so many people, not just in Israel. I can say I have connections in Monsey, in Williamsburg, with so many people who ask me to come to them, to speak to them, and to try to find new ways how we can support them. And I have to say, there is a very famous rabbi in Cleveland. He came to the school. He came to the school and he asked me, Menachem, I want the same school in my place. Just come. He wants my next visit in America. Should he come? I'll just give a job to Cleveland, but it's far away. So I'm not sure it's gonna work out this time. But he's a very big rabbi, very clever, but he understands this is very important for his community. Yeah. So also we know the influence because everybody knows about me. And unfortunately, yeah, it's not easy. And right now, I can't go anymore to Menachem. I just visit. I made a journey with some people. We made very anthropological experience in Menachem, and one of the guys recognized my face. You, yeah. And like 150 people follow me. They throw me, they spit on me. They threw diapers and bottles, and it was like a lynch. Wow! It was not easy. So right now I can't go anymore back to Menachem. I still want to stay alive. I have what to do still. It's not easy, but as I tell you, what's going on in America, also in Israel, so many people understand the need, identify with, and they don't have enough courage to make those steps. But I think the time is going to make it.
You think you see a change happening?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Is it more painful to not be able to go back to Menachem, or that your own family sometimes is rejecting you? Is that?
I lose my freedom, but I give the best present ever to my kids. Yeah. Meaningful.
How do your kids deal with the fact that some of their relatives are not accepting them?
Yeah, but they are part of this journey. They understood the need. One of my kids are studying at the yeshiva, so they're very proud about those actions. And yeah, and as I am very individual, my kids has the same gene. So they're not just caring about what people are going to say.
They're not just going along with the group.
The Chareidi values, what people is going to say. We buried this value, what people are going to say. We're not going with pajamas in the street, but we're very
individualistic.
Yeah.
Well, I want to just start to close by asking you again a little bit more about this place, the Mandel Institute, where we are. How did you get involved here? Was this a place that existed already? Did you create a new department here for the Chareidi educational world? Like, what exactly is it?
This institute exists more than 26 years.
Okay.
The foundation of Mandel leadership is famous all over the world, and they are develop leadership inside the community.
Educational leadership or general?
Education.
Educational leadership.
Education, and so I was invited for a program here, so I was in the pilot, and they took me for a job. Yeah.
So you completed the program and they asked you to work
and as
for
I mentioned before, Nomi Pearl, she funded this section in this place. So I'm working for many years, 6-7 years there. And
you're training new Chareidi leaders.
Chareidi, but in our program we have not only in education leadership, we have in all over sections, because we feel this is the way we can influence the community, but also the same, it's people who love the community, people who are loyal to the community, people who understand the meaningful of change and of the importance to preserve. So this is, we are fluenced thousands and thousands of people. You cannot imagine how much. I think we touch right now with many circles about 70,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, with this place.
What are the graduates going on to do?
So we have funded so many organizations and so many things. There is now an organization that for social workers, Chareidi social workers, or people who are based there. And there is so many in education and the rabbis in Israel, the Rabbanut. Rabbis in Israel, usually they're not communicate so much with the new world. You know about those issues. We have one of our graduates. He has very interesting. He has an interesting initiative that provide him very important knowledge and courses for those rabbis. So many things in so many sections. We are very, very proud about this this initiative.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier a story about the Holocaust with your parents. Maybe we can close with that story.
Yeah, so, sometimes very little acts, you can change so much. The day after the viral video was run, came to me a ultra-Orthodox guy. He came from Rehovot and he says, I want to thank you in my name, in the name of the family. So what's happened? I asked him, and he says, listen, we have a grandmother, she's a Holocaust survivor. She is a Holocaust survivor. And she's 85, 86 years old. She lives in a kibbutz. And because we are ultra-Orthodox, and she's so secular, she don't want any connection with us for many years. For many years. So she don't know me, none of my grandchildren. And we try for many years to make to renew the connection. It doesn't work. And a day after the viral video run, she picked up the phone. She said, I didn't know there was Chareidi like this. And so please come back. We want to make a reunion.
Amazing.
So I want to thank you so much for your little act, because you give us, it was so sad that we didn't have any connection with you, and we love you so much. So I want to thank you for my family about your little action. So sometimes we're doing so little things and we can change so much.
Wow. What a beautiful story and a beautiful representation of this whole mission and this whole enterprise, this journey that you've been on for over 20 years and continuing to go on for many more years. Menachem Bombach, thank you very, very much for joining us.
Thank you. It was great.
This has been Ari Koretsky on Jews You Should Know. Please visit us at JewsYouShouldKnow.com and subscribe at iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you consume podcasts. Find us on social media at Jews You Should Know. If you'd like to become a supporter of this podcast, we would greatly appreciate that, and you can do so by visiting patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Jews You Should Know. Finally, if you have enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review so that we can continue to grow and introduce many more people to Jews You Should Know.